Our next storyteller is Ellen Slavitz, teacher and trainer. Ellen, please come to the stage. Oh God. Oh, PowerPoint, no. Well, I'm going to try and condense about a year of my life into 15 minutes. So here goes. I'm 50-something years old, well into my 50s, and I've never been married. Well, last year that almost changed. Pigs flew, hell froze over, and then something really unlikely happened. I got engaged. I had been seeing the guy. Let's give him a name. Jumping Jack Flash. I had been seeing Jumping Jack Flash for about a year, and we were already living together. A few months before, he and his 8 or 9 guitars, he was a musician, professional musician, guitars, amplifiers, mics, music stands, special effects, gizmos, and a few articles of clothing moved into my house. And they say that if you've lived alone your whole life, you'll have a lot of trouble adjusting to someone else being in your space. Well, that wasn't true for me. I was actually as happy as a middle-aged gal whose life had changed could be. We were in a donut shop one morning, and he asked me to marry him. He slipped a glaze right on my finger. I'm just kidding, it didn't happen. But that's what we told people. That was our story, and we stuck to it. But he did run around going, "She said yes, she said yes." Let's see. So I was engaged. Now, we had rings made. I had a friend who was a jeweler, so he made our rings, and mine was made out of the diamonds from my grandmother's engagement ring. His was made out of his father's gold wedding band, which he had worn in World War II. We had an engagement party in a somewhat public venue, so about 50 people or so came, friends, fans, fellow musicians, and a few people who wandered in off the street for free food. And then there was the subject of the wedding. Well, I had gotten a little bit involved in marketing and managing JJ, Jumping Jack, his music business, and specifically, he wanted to expand his wedding gig business. So I had already been in touch with wedding venues, wedding planners, wedding photographers, wedding cake decorators. I was all set. But personally, I was never one of those girls who dreamed of walking down the aisle in the gaudy white wedding gown that costs more than your car, that you wear once, put in a box. Ixnay on the white wedding dress, the cheesy posed photographs, the mediocre sit-down dinner. Didn't need it, but I did have an elaborate plan for the music. Several years ago, I had attended a wedding, a Catholic mass, and I was kind of young. I didn't really know about the tradition, and I sat at that wedding and I thought, this is kind of boring. This thing should be produced like a Broadway show. So in the next several years, I started thinking about this. Like the cast. There would be the bride, the groom, the best man, the maid of honor, at least 2 clergy people. I figured there'd be a rabbi and then one other, because I assumed I wouldn't marry someone Jewish. That of course was before I moved to Colorado, where you can have your dog preside. We were going to have our psychic friend preside. because she was the first person who envisioned us together. And anyway, see, so choir, have to have like the gospel choir, the emotional songs, the choreography, jazz hands. So here I was marrying a musician who had done Broadway shows. Not on Broadway, but close enough. So a couple phone calls and my Broadway music wedding dream was off and running. Then something even more unlikely happened. I got a job. I was making a career change to the training field, and I got a job in my field. So for a while, a couple weeks, I had it all. The job, fiance, the wedding plan, the life that really I had never allowed myself to dream. So I go on a business trip, an overnight business trip. This was the first night we had spent apart for, really since he moved in 7 or 8 months ago. And I come back, JJ is on the porch, our front porch, hands me a glass of wine and says, "We gotta talk." Ruh-roh. I don't want to get married. I'm not ready. I may never be. I won't go into the whole chronology of details, but that became, I need my own house, I need my own space, I need my own pictures on my own walls, which eventually became, I can't do this relationship. I need to be by myself. I need to figure myself out. So I'm a little naive about these things, and I think, well, of course we're going to remain friends, or at least friendly. So about a month or so later, I hear that he's doing a major gig, actually a gig that we had started planning together. And the gig is on, of all days, Valentine's Day. So I decide to call him, congratulate him on the gig, and say, hey, you want to get together? So I do that, and he says, "No, I've moved on. I'm with someone else. I wish you the best." I wish you the best. In other words, I don't want to see you. I don't want to hear about you. I don't want to know you. I want to forget you as quickly as possible so I can run off into the sunset with this new person who is better than you in every way. No, he didn't say that. That's just but you know how these things are. Few months pass, and I run into a mutual friend, and she says, "Ellen, you came up in conversation the other night." I thought, "Oh no, don't tell me. Don't tell me." She said, "Oh no, you want to hear this. I was talking to some friends of yours, and they just like you so much, and they feel so bad that Jumping Jack got married." Turns out he got married about 4 or so months after the "I want to be alone" speech. A little after that, I lost the job. I also lost my brother from an aggressive form of prostate cancer. He was 57, the last living member of my family. So of course, I don't have a family left. Who am I going to tell? That I've lost my brother. So yeah, I did it. Emailed Jumping Jack. Nothing. The death kind of legitimized what I was feeling. That is, I felt a lot less ashamed grieving the death of my brother than I did grieving this guy who landed up on the society page with the caption, Jumping Jack and his fiance newlywed. No, it was newlyweds. No, I didn't see it. Someone told me about it. So I had a lot to grieve, but I still was ashamed and just not able to face people. So I stayed in my house and I read a lot of books on grief and loss and depression. I'm surprised the people at the library didn't like bang on my door. Actually, I got paid to read one book. One of the things I do is I do book indexing, and I was hired during this time to index a book called Principles of Trauma Therapy. I mean, I should have paid them to read the book. Anyway, but you know, you can't do this stuff alone. You just can't. So of course I turned to the internet. And there were a lot of useful stuff on the internet, but on one particularly bad day, I found myself on a website called Psych Central, psychcentral.com. And specifically, I wandered into the Psych Central Depression Forum. Now, a forum, of course, is a place where you can post messages and people can respond. So let me tell you about the Psych Central Depression Forum. The typical message sounds something like this. I'm 16 years old, I live with my parents, I've attempted suicide 3 times, my medication isn't working, my family doesn't understand me, can you please tell me why I should live? So I thought, perfect. That's pretty close to where I was that day. So I post a message saying, describing my situation, a brief message, and I get a response. Someone wants to know if I want a PM, that is personal message, that is go back and forth one-on-one without the rest of the forum seeing it. So I think, well, you know, it's anonymous. I'm using a pseudonym. What the heck? So I say okay. So I get another message from this person, and it's signed Rob. And I went, oh God, it's a guy. I think I even wrote that. Oh, you're a guy. But he said yeah. So what the hell? So I find out that he has experienced some similar stuff. He's a similar age. He's also just recently lost a job and a relationship. And we start PMing back and forth. Pretty soon, I'm telling him the whole friggin' story. You know, the engagement, the rings, the Valentine's Day concert, the I wish you the best. And Rob sends me the most sensitive, intelligent responses. Like, very early on, he said, I won't give you platitudes. And I thought to myself, platitudes? The guy uses words like platitudes. This guy's no dummy. So we go back and forth, you know, anonymously. So I thought. It turns out within the first week, he's taken the pieces of information that I've given him and done a little bit of creative Googling, and he knows my first name, my last name, my address, my hobbies. He's got my photo and probably even my shoe size. I mean, the guy could have landed up at my door with an axe and a pair of shoes. So we graduate from talking about our life circumstances to other things. Like one day he talks about patterns of thinking being etched in neural pathways. And I said, neural pathways? This guy's into neuroscience, I'm into neuroscience. What are the chances? Another day, he says, we get on the subject of neoliberalism. Neoliberalism? I bet this guy on Psych Central, and we're talking about the contradictions of free market capitalism. Another day he says, "Are you getting any exercise? Can you go take a bike ride?" Well, it turns out we're both serious cyclists. It also turns out that we had both been accepted to doctoral programs at some point in our lives, but decided not to go. And then there was bread baking. It turned out that we both baked all of our own bread. So we graduate from Psych Central PM to email, our own email addresses, to phone. And Rob turns out he's from Louisiana, and he has this deep, gentle, comforting Southern drawl. I mean, the guy could have read the phone book, and it would have been comforting. And the funny thing is that my dog's breed is a Catahoula leopard, which is the state dog of Louisiana. Anyway, so what are the chances? So we talk about all kinds of stuff: cooking, Coen Brothers films, medication versus meditation, fracking. He's a big environmental guy and just hates this fracking thing. And what can I say? I'm starting to have, shall we say, feelings for the guy. So and he's feeling the same way. So he sends me a photograph of himself. Remember, he already has mine, and from the internet. Apparently, I have quite the internet, the Google presence. I don't know how it happened. Rob is he's told me that he's 1/8 Cherokee Indian. So he's this like good-looking, well-built guy with hair. So we start talking logistics, like who will visit who, how often, who might move, who could get a job in the other's location. Turns out he's a mechanical engineer, so as I thought, no dummy. So eventually Rob comes to visit. On the Greyhound bus, actually, for reasons that we don't have time to talk about. But in his luggage, he brings me, among other things, live sourdough starter. Because he knew that I baked bread, but I didn't get into sourdough yet, so he felt that was his responsibility. So he planted my vegetable garden, and he cooked for me. I mean, we're talking gumbo, ceviche, banana pancakes. We watched movies, we hung out, we went hiking, we went cycling. And soon I'm seeing that Rob, who I met on the Psych Central Depression Forum, is actually a better match for me than Jumping Jack Flash, who I met in my own backyard. So what happened to Rob? Well, this is how the story was supposed to go. I was supposed to stay, and here he is. He's the one in the Groucho glasses hiding. Oh, I forgot to say that one of the most important things is Rob, if we got together, he was adamant that no one know that we met on Psych Central. Okay, so where are we gonna? So what are we gonna say? We're gonna say we met on some other, site of a common interest, like cooking, a support site for cooks. Like my souffle fell. I can't stand it. No, don't do it. We're there for you. Buy more eggs. You can try again. You can tell that I spent a lot of time on these forum sites. Anyway, so back to what happened to Rob. What happened to Rob? He got a call from his former girlfriend, and that was that. But we are friends, and actually, the reason I have my my phone here is because he sent a text this morning, and he said, "Here's to friends, good stories, and kindness. Wishing you an appreciative audience." So I want to end by telling you about one really good book that I read. It was called Healing Through Dark Emotions: The Wisdom of Grief, Fear, and Despair. And the author of this book says that if you're willing to stay conscious and present with those dark emotions, that you'll have a kind of emotional alchemy, a magical transformation in which you will come out hopefully better than how you went in. And I came out realizing that when I go through things like that, I need to see it as a way to connect with other people, not to separate myself. And when I hear other people going through these things, I give them my phone number and I tell them what Rob told me. Call me anytime. I will walk with you through your pain. I won't offer you platitudes. And I may even cook you a meal. I also came out knowing that I really like being and having a partner. So if you know anyone, who's going to want me now? You know, go public with this thing. Anyway, Charlie Chaplin once said that to truly laugh, you must be able to take your pain and play with it. So I hope I've done that, and thanks everyone. A great thanks to Sharon, who I approached meekly, and she said, "Yeah, you've got a story there."